Hi guys, it's Mrs. Talon again, bringing you chapter 16 of Stranded. We're almost finished with this book. So we left off with Buzz and Vanessa back at the boat, starting to get a little worried, and then they're kind of going out to look to see where the others are. Jane and Carter may have found a shortcut through a cave, and they were going to kind of see what was in there and see if they could get to the Lucky Star a little bit quicker than walking all the way around the island. And Jane, because it was her idea, she took the lead on this one, even though she's the smallest. Let's read chapter 16 and find out. Did that cave lead a shortcut to the Lucky Star? Maybe we'll find out in this chapter. Please, 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 oh please. Vanessa stood on lookout point, silently begging for some sign of Carter and Jane to show itself. It had been almost 24 hours now. Wasn't that when you were supposed to call the police? But of course, that wasn't going to happen. They were on their own here. You see anything? Buzz asked. Nothing, she said. The shore was empty, and the jungle was too thick to see into it from up here. She kicked at the ground in frustration. They could be anywhere in those woods. I told Carter to stick to the beach, but he's so stubborn. He probably went tromping around in there just because I said not to. We should keep moving, Buzz said. They'd been on the point for at least half an hour now. If they're not back at the boat when we get there, I think we should start walking again, all the way around the island if we have to. Vanessa nodded, but she was also torn. She hated to leave this spot. At the same time, she hated to think that Carter and Jane could be hurt and waiting for them to come help. Maybe she and Buzz should split up to cover more ground, or maybe that was the worst idea in the world. There were no perfect answers for this, not even any good ones. The cave led uphill into the dark and quickly banked to the right. Soon after that, Carter couldn't see any light behind them at all. The only thing they had to go by was the 6 inches or so that Jane's camera lit up in front of them. It couldn't have just been a straight shot, could it? Carter grumbled, because that would have been too easy, right? What was that? Jane said, stopping all at once. Carter brushed something away from his head as it flitted past, or at least he could have sworn he felt something. Already the dark was playing tricks on them. Any way we can go faster? He said. Not really, Jane said. The stream was still on their right, and he could hear another waterfall up ahead. The sound had been muted at first, but it was getting louder with every step. Watch out for this, Jane said. They'd just come to a low wall of some kind. Carter kept one hand on her arm and felt his way along the other as they climbed up to stand on a higher elevation. They'd just come into the much bigger space from the sound of it. Everything was more echoey here, including the falls, which were somewhere off to the side. In front of them, in the camera's light, Carter could see the edge of a pond or a pool of some kind. It was impossible to know how big it was, but it was feeding the stream they'd followed inside. The falls, he heard, seemed to be flowing down into the same pool. That meant the water was coming from somewhere even higher up. It was easy to imagine the whole cavern as some kind of crazy multi-level maze, the kind you walked into and never came back out of. The thought of it put a shiver down his back, and right now they had a big decision to make. Which way? Jane said. With the pool in front of them, there was no more stream to follow, or to lead them back if they got lost. Just then something else whizzed past Carter's ear, a bug or a bat or something. Let's just keep moving, he said right away. Follow the edge of the water. We can always track it back to the stream, right? Yeah, Jane said, tentatively. Unless there's a whole bunch of streams, how will we know which one to come back to? It was a good question. Getting lost would be a pretty silly move, Carter thought, but then again, turning around might be too, if they were getting close. And standing still in the pitch dark was starting to drive him crazy. I say we go for it, he told her. Buzz still didn't love crossing the tree bridge, but Carter had been right. The first time was the hardest, and Vanessa was right too. It helped if he stayed low, kept moving, and most of all, didn't look down. The rest of the way to the beach was familiar by now, and easy. They slid down the gravel slope onto their butts, using their heels to brake as they got near the bottom. Then they continued on around the giant rock formation and started past the mouth of the cave in the woods before the ground began another downward slope. It was quiet as they walked. Neither of them seemed to have much to say. But then, as they passed the cave, Buzz thought he heard Vanessa mutter something under her breath. "What?" he asked. "Huh?" Vanessa said. "What did you say?" He asked her again. "I didn't say anything. What did you hear?" Buzz stopped to listen. "Nothing, I guess," he said. And then there it was again, some kind of mumble. He and Vanessa stared at each other, wide-eyed. She heard it too. It was coming from the cave. The hairs on the back of Buzz's neck stood up. Was it a wild animal? One of those boars Jane talked about? "Hello?" Vanessa called out, and then a small voice came back. "Hey, Vanessa, is that you?" It was Carter, somehow. Buzz felt more shock than relief at first. None of it made any sense, almost as if they were hearing things. Both of them rushed in through the mouth of the cave as much as they could. The daylight from the woods behind them didn't reach very far. Soon Buzz was facing a wall of blackness he didn't know how to navigate. "Carter? Jane?" he yelled. "Are you in there?" "Keep talking," Carter called out. "Where are you?" It was hard to know how to answer that one. "We're here," Buzz yelled. "Where are you?" He could feel Vanessa's hand on his shoulder behind him. "Should we get the flashlight?" she said. "It's still on the boat." "I don't know," Buzz answered. Then he saw it for the first time, a faint, tiny glow just coming around some unseen corner in the dark. That's all it was at first, until Jane called out again. "There they are," she said. "Oh my gosh, it really is. Carter, we did it. We're back." Before Carter could stop, Vanessa, she had her arms around him in a big hug. "I'm so glad to see you," she said. He could barely breathe, she was squeezing so tight. "I never should have let you go off like that." Carter's first thought was, "What do you mean, let us?" But this was too happy a moment to worry about that right now. Okay, he said, stepping back. He was glad to see them too, but there didn't need to be a whole production about it. It was hard to believe, but Jane's idea had actually worked. If it weren't for her, they would have spent the whole day hiking back to the boat on empty stomachs. "Where did you come from?" Buzz asked, peering into the dark. "From the other side," Jane said excitedly. "These cliffs are like Swiss cheese. There are caves everywhere. And we found water too," Carter said. "There's a falls back there, at the lagoon." "It's called Carter's Falls," Jane said with a grin. "You could get there in 2 minutes with a real flashlight." For everything they'd been through, she seemed pretty pumped, Carter thought, and pretty tough for a 9-year-old. "But I don't understand," Vanessa said. "Are you guys okay? Why did you come back last night?" "Why didn't you come back last night? What happened?" "We're okay," Carter said. Already, he was heading toward the mouth of the cave ahead of the others. "Let's talk about that on the boat, because I'm starving." And that is the end of chapter 16. So the kids were able to find each other through Jane's idea to cut through the cave. They just found a shortcut to water. Tune in next time when we read chapter 17 to find out what's going to happen next. Bye, guys.